Well, thank you so much. I am honored for the invitation and grateful for the time you have all carved out. And I'm happy to share some of the work that we're doing. And then hopefully we have enough time too, in case you have any questions that you want to ask, whether about how I got to where I'm at, or the mouthful that you just heard about my bio, or what I will present. So let me pull out the PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to share from my screen. So give me a second. Oops. Let's see. Oh, there it is. All right. Can you see that okay? I was
Yes,
going to keep it in this mode to help me see what's next, even though that ruins a little bit of the surprise for you. So that's okay? You can see?
yes.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll move forward. I wanted to start out with the Energy Commission's vision, which is basically having a clean, affordable, and reliable energy supply for all Californians. And I call this a vision because this isn't easy to do, right? This is an aspiration, having something that's clean, having something that's affordable, having something that's reliable. All of those things are things that we want to accomplish, but it's a lot and it can be challenging. And especially when we're trying to do it for all Californians, because California is a large state. It's very dynamic, incredibly diverse, not just its people, but also its geography, its landscape, the resources it has, etc. So it's a major vision. And fortunately, there are 5 of us working on accomplishing this vision. So on the screen here, you'll see the 4 other commissioners who I work with. We have a very harmonious relationship. We don't always agree on the same approaches. We have different styles. We have different expertise and experience, but we're all working really well together towards that shared vision that we have. Chair David Hochschild, who I hope you can all meet at some point. He is a visionary. He's the reason why we're all so excited to move on things, and he's extremely passionate and very committed. He's seeking another term, so he'll have another 5 years to work on this vision. And the way the 5 of us are kind of focusing on getting to this vision is with our mission of being the policy and planning agency on energy, and that way leading the state to 100% clean energy future. Let me talk a little bit about my policy portfolio. Oops, sorry here, I'm seeing some things. Okay, there we go. All right. So each of the 5 commissioners at the Energy Commission handles a portfolio of policy areas, and we are working on so many things. It's really helpful that we get to divide up these areas amongst us. So you'll see here a long list of all the things that I'm lead commissioner on. And then there are a couple, which are tribal affairs and military engagement, that are also important to me. And I'm considered the associate commissioner, kind of like the number 2. But that's helpful as well to have a co-commissioner on areas so that we can brainstorm and discuss things without getting into any legal trouble, because we're not supposed to have 3 of us discussing policy unless it's in public. So anyway, some of the rules that we got to deal with, but we at least have what's called a Bagley-Keene buddy to be able to keep us within the rules and still be able to brainstorm and share. So I want to just point out, I'm not going to read the whole list, but you have it here in case you want to ask me about them. But a few of the ones that we're considering priorities, especially for this year, are the Lithium Valley Vision, which is somewhat of a new concept. I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. Power plant siting, and then a specific permitting process within power plant siting that I'll also talk to you about. And then here we have the renewables portfolio standard, which is also important, but that's kind of moving along. There'll be some adjustments. I won't talk to you about that today unless you ask a specific question, but the other one is equity and environmental justice, which I am the lead commissioner on, and we'll talk to you a little bit about that. All right, we'll move forward. So on the Lithium Valley Vision, This concept of a lithium valley is, taken from the concept of the Silicon Valley, where there's this thriving hub focused on, particular technology. It made Silicon Valley help California change the world, right? It was this huge impact at global scale because of what Silicon Valley has done and continues to do. So with Lithium Valley, the vision is that there could be this domestic supply chain of lithium that then turns into lithium being able to be used for components of batteries for electric vehicles, for example. And we've got so much lithium in the area called the Salton Sea region, which is, kind of where this concept of Lithium Valley, it's kind of encapsulating that area. There's so much lithium there that it could produce enough to power up 375 million electric vehicle batteries is what a recent study showed us. And that's more cars than what are on the roads today, which I thought was mind-blowing. But that's how much lithium is out there. So anyway, so we have this, vision that the area called Salton Sea region could really benefit from having this type of industry if done well, right? Like your seminar focuses on energy justice. This is all about equity and justice in that area. So extracting lithium, like literally is extractive, right? It's an extractive process. And usually industry can be extracted where they're taking resources from somewhere and not contributing back the same amount, the same value. What we're trying to do with this Lithium Valley vision is, yes, extract the lithium for these goals we're trying to meet of so many electric, vehicles, but also contribute back to that community to help bring it up, because the Salton Sea region in general has been one of the most polluted areas, one of the most poverty-stricken areas, one of the areas with the worst health outcomes. And a lot of that has to do with the way things have been done in the past, which have not been just, fair, or right. So here's a chance for us to correct those things. So listed here are some benefits that we're seeing that could be results of, Lithium Valley happening in that area. So community benefits, good paying jobs from the construction that could potentially happen, not just from the lithium development that's there, but also from the potential location of other types of manufacturing. For example, the battery components that I mentioned, electric vehicles possibly in that same region. So jobs and then other economic development opportunities and community investments. For example, with infrastructure, we can't just try to do lithium development and, this manufacturing processes without having other types of infrastructure to support. So kind of like a wraparound type of approach where we're also making sure that there's paved roads, there's lights, there's transmission, there's business enterprise, like just restaurants, grocery stores, pharmacies, etc. We also want to make sure that there are environmental benefits. So, doing any type of industry does have an impact. So we want to try to ensure that we're reducing the potential footprint of that lithium and battery and, electric vehicle potential production that's there. So mitigation efforts, making sure that we're not making the environment worse there because it already has some toxic air, toxic water, etc. So balancing that out and hopefully improving all of those things as well. And then also we see some benefits at the federal level in terms of security, because we won't have to rely so much on other countries to bring in the supplies that we need for, electric vehicles and to meet all of our clean energy goals. So that's a little bit about the Lithium Valley vision, and there's a ton to say. So I'll just focus a little bit there on the vision and then give you some background on some activities that we've done that actually Ben Finkler was a part of. So back in 2020, we established what was called the Lithium Valley Commission. So it's basically a lot of different representatives, both local and then some state, and then some other folks like from industry who could be part of a forum to discuss what can be done with lithium extraction? What are the considerations that we should have in mind as we're moving forward on this? So that commission started in 2021. It went all the way through 2022. That's when the commission submitted 15 recommendations that it saw fit to help move forward with this Lithium Valley vision. And then those recommendations were adopted. And then we haven't done too much in terms of the recommendations. So what we're trying to do now, well, I skipped a little part. So that was in 2022 that they adopted the recommendations. And then there was a little bit of a lull because the commission dissolved. And then I became commissioner and was leading the efforts and was really focusing on engagement, getting to know the people and the place that, is being considered for this Lithium Valley vision. So I spent a whole year just working on that to get a better understanding, more insight, et cetera, on what this vision should look like. And then this year, we're more focused now on taking concrete steps towards the vision. For example, we just got a proceeding adopted. And so it's basically like a formal way of having a forum to bring back discussions related to Lithium Valley. And this is where we're going to bring back the Lithium Valley recommendations to see what has been done, what hasn't been done, who can step up to take responsibility and lead those efforts, and have more discussion about what else is missing and what else can we do for this Lithium Valley effort that we're trying to do. And so we put a link here to, in case anyone's interested in the Lithium Valley, to learn more about our proceeding, more about the vision, and get some details. And then I want to highlight too, I didn't do that on the previous slide, but let me just real quick go back. So this is a picture of Governor Newsom during his State of the Union tour. He decided that Imperial Valley was one of the areas where he wanted to focus. So he went in person, and this is in front of one of the lithium developer sites. And then to his right and left are members of the Lithium Valley Commission. Chairman Torres from the Torres Martinez tribe, Sylvia Paz, who is the chair of the Lithium Valley Commission. She's the head of Alianza, an organization out in the Coachella area, and Assemblymember Garcia, who's in the suit. And then in this picture, we have a big group of us, including Chair Hochschild from the Energy Commission. We have also members of the Torres Martinez tribe. We were in their gym. And Dee Dee Myers, who's the head of GoBiz, some members of my team, and representatives from the Department of Energy and the Department of Defense. We took them there to show them the realities of Lithium Valley and the possibilities that this area has for national security and manufacturing in general, which the Biden-Harris administration are so focused on. So I was really excited to have them there. So a different policy area that I have that's also, I think it will be interesting for you to learn about, is power plant siting. So a lot of the environmental justice work has origins in power plant siting. Power plants used to be sited in neighborhoods often that were a majority people of color, low income folks, and the pollution that the power plants of the past generated, were really toxic and harmed people. And so power plant siting is something that we take very seriously, and we're trying to improve so that we're more focused on siting more clean energy rather than fossil fuel-based power plants. But it is still part of the work that the Energy Commission does. So we do have power plant licensing. We do the compliance monitoring and enforcement, and then we're also talking about transmission planning. So I oversee this arena of siting, not necessarily the transmission piece, but the other pieces. And I'll talk to you about a new program that we have in siting, which is called opt-in certification. So with opt-in certification, this is brand new. We're implementing it this year. And we already have at least one application. I think actually we could say one application that we deemed complete. We're moving on, and then a couple others that are coming through. But basically, this is our pathway to be able to bring on more clean energy and faster. So this is solar, terrestrial wind, also manufacturing and assembly, which could be like battery manufacturing and things of that sort, energy storage systems as well. Basically anything that's non-fossil fueled, so that we can do more of that. And this is new for us at the Energy Commission because we used to not do any type of permitting or certification, licensing, et cetera, of these types of resources. So now we are doing that, which is exciting. And part of the reason that it's exciting too is because this new process requires a lot of engagement, which is vital when you're trying to ensure that you're, meeting energy justice goals as well, right? So we are required to do tribal consultation, and we're going above and beyond that and doing engagement ahead of time, not just the required consultation. We're doing a lot of work with local governments as well. They might be scared off by this opt-in certification process because developers can come through the Energy Commission for permitting instead of going through the local process. And so I think some local governments are fearful of that. And so we are having a lot of engagement with local government called pre-meetings to get more information to them so that they know what's happening. And we do need to work with the local government throughout the process, even if developers choose to go through our process instead of going through their local process. We also are required to do workshops in the community near where the project sites are going to be, or as feasible as possible, which is great, right? Because then we're providing more information to the folks that could potentially be affected by what we're siting out there. So even if they're clean energy projects, people still need to know more about them, the potential impacts. We need to hear their input, so we're learning more about things that we might not know about since we're not there all the time. And so another key step is having a workshop about the environmental impact report. So we do like a full CEQA process, have tons of engagement. And then on top of that, what I want to highlight is that this process is also very cool because it's requiring 3 different things that we usually don't do. One is ensuring that there are economic benefits to the local government that would have had that permitting process had the developer gone through them. So they're supposed to receive economic development out of this. Also, a signed community benefits agreement. There has to be an agreement between the developer and then also a community-based organization out there, or some type of organization that's going to help ensure that the community is benefiting. So that one gets a little tricky, but at least it's in there and it's a start, to ensuring there are community benefits. And then also it's required that we have prevailing wage to a skilled and trained workforce or a project labor agreement. So that's also a requirement that usually is not in permitting processes of any sort. And that's all on top of the CEQA process, which I mentioned. All right, so I'm going to shift over to a different area, which is tribal affairs in general. So I'm the associate in that arena, as I mentioned, and we're doing a lot of work with the tribes. So I'm really excited to be the associate here. One of the examples that I wanted to share with you is the focus on energy sovereignty. So in the past, Energy Commission and other state agencies would inform tribes about what we were going to do. Possibly even inform them of opportunities that we had in terms of grants or other things. But we're trying to do a lot better and have been working on it over the recent years on talking with tribes, treating them as partners and seeing what they want to do, and them informing us about what they want, and then us working on those things instead. So a little bit, in reverse. And basically what they've emphasized is they want sovereignty, and energy sovereignty is one of the ways to get there. Microgrids have been an example of what tribes have been seeking because that enables them to have control, have a reliable source of energy if the lights go out. And unfortunately, where many of the tribes are located, there isn't sufficient infrastructure for them to not have outages. They often are suffering from frequent outages. And so microgrids have been a type of technology that they see as giving them sovereignty. So we had a tribal en banc last year, which is basically having all the energy commissioners and all the public utility commissioners together in person. We went up to the North Coast and had just a big meeting with all of us in person focused on tribal affairs. And so CPUC talked about what they do, Energy Commission talked about, what we have, what we're doing, tribes talked about what they want, what they're seeing, et cetera. And one of the major milestones from the en banc was that the Energy Commission had a resolution basically committing ourselves to developing a policy on tribal energy sovereignty so that we can take steps to get there. And so that resolution was a first of its kind. The basically the assembly of all these people was first of its kind. So, I wish it wasn't first of its kind. I wish we had been doing these things for a long time, but here we are, really committed and trying our best. And the tribe, one of the tribal members did tell us that, she was in tears because it was the first time she had seen tribal energy sovereignty in writing, in a formal state or, government of any kind document. And so that was so meaningful for her. And she told us that that was, that was significant and that, it showed this commitment to partnership. So that was really exciting. So we had that formal engagement. And then also here you'll see a picture of us in a canoe, a traditional canoe. This is with the Yurok tribe on the Klamath River, which is of great significance to them. And so, it's us learning the ways of the tribe, why all the various things are important to them, the water, the trees, the wildlife, et cetera. And it was really gratuitous of them to take us on these journeys, show us all these things, provide all this insight. And so we were grateful for that and learned a lot. And then I'm going to shift over to another area that I lead. I mentioned earlier, equity and environmental justice is the general name that we use, but the way we're doing this is through an initiative called Justice, Access, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, so JEDI. And those of you who are Star Wars fans, we do use Yoda as our mascot because it sounds enough like Jedi. So that's the acronym JEDI. We developed a framework where we have values and principles, best practices and considerations that we're going to use as a tool for staff. And so there's a link to that if you want to check it out further. And then we're doing basically an inside-outside strategy. We're trying to create a culture of belonging that takes into account these principles. So that's at the workplace for the workforce. And also taking these principles to improve our programs and policies. So also taking it on the outside, making sure all Californians are benefiting from the Energy Commission even further because we're taking these principles into account as we do our work. So we did open up a formal proceeding as well on JEDI so that we can have more of those discussions in public. And some of the topics that we'll be exploring through this proceeding are our JEDI framework, which we created it and we posted it, but we haven't actually implemented, so we're going to do that. Workforce, supplier diversity, benefits metrics are other things that we want to work on. And eventually we're hoping that all the information we gather turns into an action plan where we're seeing what should the Energy Commission do, where are we trying to go. So we put some links there so you could check out the dockets, which are just basically repositories for material. And then also you could subscribe to get information if you want to engage in this process with us. And then I'll quickly go over some data just so you can have a sense. So we're trying to do better as an agency on tracking information. Also tracking information, not just for the sake of tracking it and showing it, but also to help us monitor and stay accountable to our goals of JEDI. So really seeing where are we doing well, where aren't we doing well, what can we do better. So we do track some information like this, like how much funding are we investing in disadvantaged communities. This slide that I'm showing is a little bit old. I think it's from our 2021 information, but you can see some programs are really high, over 70% of our funding going to disadvantaged communities, where other programs are lower. But still, the fact that all of these programs are in the teens, I think is a good sign, right? We're getting higher, whereas maybe in the past, maybe 5 to 10 years ago, it might have been even lower. Here's just an example, for this 1 year, we invested, I think it was 2021, it must have been, a little over 1 billion going into disadvantaged communities through our various programs. We have multiple programs, but here's a sample. And then we're also trying to do better on figuring out, are we really delivering all of our programs to all of California? And so we look at where are all the sites for our projects. And here's a map kind of showing all the projects and then where they are in disadvantaged communities. So we are getting there, but I think we can always do better. But just some information here to show you kind of what we do. And again, we're going to try to focus more on benefits metrics through our proceeding. And what we want to do is not assume that because a project is cited in an area, whether it be a disadvantaged community or low-income community, that means that it's a benefit. So we want to really engage with community to figure out what is of value to them. What are the things that they're looking at that we should also be tracking? For example, is it the jobs generated? Is it the health outcomes? And then how can we, look at that and try to track it? Because, our commission doesn't focus on health, but maybe we can partner with a health agency or health experts to figure out how we can better track those types of benefits as well. So anyway, so things like that. All right, so let me shift real quick to one of our other areas. This is an event we put on called the Clean Energy Hall of Fame Awards. It's an annual event where we uplift the actions and the work of local leaders throughout California who are contributing to helping the state get to a 100% clean energy future. And we know that as a state agency, we can't do it all. We can lead on policy and planning, but really it's at the local level where a lot of things are happening. So we've been trying to do better of putting the focus on those leaders and bringing them forward, creating partnerships with them as well, so we can support them and hopefully engage them in our efforts as well. So this is a little sample. We are going to have an award ceremony this year in December. The date's December 5th. If any of you are interested in coming, everybody is welcome. And it is a fun event. And we're also taking nominations. So if you know of any clean energy champions out there, we would love for you to nominate. So we put the link there as well, so you can check out more information about the Hall of Fame or also nominate someone. And that is it. So sorry, I went a little fast. I just want to make sure we had enough time to talk and if, for me to answer questions as well. I'm going to leave this on unless you tell me to stop sharing. I wasn't sure if we wanted to go back to any particular sites.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Naomi, and thanks for sharing your insights and your work. We're open for the question and answers. You can post in the Q&A. I will read them to the commissioner. So until then, I have a question.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the opt-in certifications for the renewable energy resources. So what's the basic difference by taking those certifications through CEC or through local government? Like why they are going through CEC, instead of local governments? Is there any particular reason?
So that's a great question. Normally these projects would go through a local process, but what we had observed a couple of years ago, and I wasn't involved then, and especially not as commissioner, so I don't have all of the details or the nuance, but here's my understanding, is that there were some local jurisdictions that weren't excited to have clean energy projects for one reason or another, right? And so they were either creating ordinances to block clean energy projects, or they were just not doing the permitting process in a streamlined way. So that was basically blocking some developers from bringing forward projects. So developers, from what I understand, talk to people in government, and then this idea of a different type, or an optional, I should say, an optional certification process that could serve as an alternative to the local permitting came about. So it's actually more like an alternative, right? Like if you could go through the local level, if if there's an issue, then you can try our state pathway. Or, if for some reason the developer thinks that the state process might be better, they could go that route. And I also want to balance this out by saying that there are local governments who would like to have more clean energy projects come through, but they don't have the capacity to be able to go through that permitting process. So they're telling developers to go through the state, basically the state process. And the local permitting process might be easier for some developers than going through ours because they might know that area more than they know the state process. So all the cases are going to be different, but the motives for going one way or another also will vary. And I think with our process, one of the big differences is those requirements we have for the workforce piece, the wages. Also the community benefits agreement, we require community benefits agreement. I don't know if other local jurisdictions do. And then we also require that assessment of the benefits to the local government in terms of, the economic development. So Afshan, if I didn't answer your question accurately, let me know. And okay.
Yeah. No, like it's clear for me, like why, that's the, I think, so most efficient way to get like most benefits out of these projects. Yeah, so we have another question. So she said, like, what are some examples of energy equity indicators outlined in JEETI?
Yeah. So where is it? So the energy equity indicators here. There's a team on the in one of the divisions at the Energy Commission who's really excited about refreshing a tool that we already have. So this tool, it has been around for a while. It's called the Energy Equity Indicators tool. And it got a little stale. It hadn't been used for a while. We hadn't refreshed it with data. So there's a team now refreshing the data and also modifying the tool so that it can deliver more value now in a modern way. So some of the things that they're looking at, and the reason why I'm talking to you a little bit abstractly is it hasn't been published yet, so it's not public. At least this the refresh tool isn't public yet. But one of the things that they're looking at are like energy burdens, basically, for families, some families can afford more than others. And so the impacts of the costs of energy are worse for some families versus others, right? Like maybe a $5 cup of coffee for one family is like so cheap, no problem. But for another, that's like significant. It's almost a luxury to be able to have that same thing with energy, right? Some families don't worry about it, not a big deal. They might even participate in some programs where they can make some money by turning off the lights at certain times, having smart devices, etc., being able to afford those. And then there might be other families who can't have, who's for whom like participating in a program like that is not fun, but it's like almost mandatory so they can afford and the basic necessity of having lights on. Sometimes it's harder for those families than for others. So it's taking those things into account, and they're really digging into the data as well, which is where I can't get that nerdy. I love data, but I don't dig into it that way. And so I love it that there's a team really digging into it and figuring out what are all the various numbers and different types of data that they need to help us figure out really quickly with a press of a button this information about here's where the impact of energy is worse, here's where it's less, here's where we need to invest more money, etc. So it's going to be a cool tool. I wish I could tell you more about it and show it to you, but it's coming. And so I urge you to sign up to get updates for this proceeding so you can see when that comes through and you can participate in those workshops. We will make them public. And I think that one in particular is going to be really exciting. But you can go on to our webpage now and see, I think the energy equity indicator tool, at least the older one, I think it's still on there. So you could get a sense of what it had. I think like solar on homes in low income and disadvantaged communities was one of them as an example. I can't recall all the others, but there was an array of indicators.
So the next question is on slide 14. What are program acronyms for the percentage of equity funding?
Okay, say that question again.
So what are program acronyms for the percentage of equity funding?
I don't think I'm understanding that one. Can you,
She's asking for the acronyms, like what
oh,
the
just the acronyms?
uh,
Oh, okay. Yeah, so those are our programs. Let me switch to this other
like mm,
slide
yes,
here. So we have just a ton of programs, and it's hard to remember all the ones, whether it's in acronyms or the full name. But basically, like NSHP was the new solar homes partnership. We had millions of dollars for solar on rooftops. We don't have that program anymore because the funds were exhausted, but that was one of our popular ones, incentives for solar. On the bottom, you see the little car. We have the Clean Transportation Program, CTP. Just yesterday, the Energy Commission adopted our new investment plan for this program, and it is a lot of money. I think, I want to say, if I remember correctly, it's like $1 billion, maybe even 2 billion. It's weird because it has different dates. It moves around, but anyways, it's around 2 billion that is being invested in clean transportation. And there's about 5 million or so that's going to get carved out for workforce, as an example. So they're trying to do a lot to further, energy justice that way. And then they're also aiming for, I think the requirement is like 50% to be invested in disadvantaged communities, low-income communities, but they're aiming for more. But anyways, but here on this slide, and we can share these slides with you, but basically is what the acronyms stand for. So
thank
we've
you.
got, yeah, food production investment program, geothermal resources development, renewable energy for agriculture program, local government challenge, electric program investment charge. Some of them have cool names, some of them don't. Some of the acronyms are fun and some of them are not.
Thank you.
Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, thank you for making it clear. So the next question is, are there concerns of localized pollution from lithium production?
Are there what?
The concerns of the pollution?
Concerns about the pollution? I
Yeah.
think so. I think there are always concerns when there's a production of anything, right? And so I think for geothermal, some of it is, what's going into the air, right? You see a big plume going into the air, and I think folks automatically associate it with the plumes that used to come out of fossil-based power plants. That's what it looks like. So that could be, toxic pollution going into the air. But with geothermal, it's steam. And so I'm not going to say there's no impact or it's not no pollution. There's always something, but it's much less. And then with the lithium, the extraction that we're trying to do, it's a really sustainable process, especially compared to how other countries do it, because they're extracting that lithium from that geothermal brine. So they're producing energy from the geothermal development and then extracting the lithium during that process as well. So it's really cool how we can do, clean energy, generate power with clean energy, and then also able to get lithium extracted to help us with our electric vehicle goals. And I think those are the major concern is, what's going into the air. Is that polluting the air? Is it making it worse? And in an area like the Salton Sea region, where they have really significant air pollution due to mostly the toxic dust lifting from the playa when there's wind and whatnot, that dust goes into the lungs and is just, really detrimental. They have some of the highest rates of childhood asthma in that area because of the dust from the playa. So I think folks get concerned whenever there's any other type of development going on, that the air is going to get worse than it already is due to, the development happening. So those are the kinds of things that I've heard anyway about the geothermal.
Thank you. The next question is, Lorenzo is saying, a report from UC Berkeley a few years ago found large inequities in the performance and investment in utility distribution systems. with DACs have more frequent and longer outages due to inequitable system investments and maintenance. Will this issue be within scope of JAEDI?
Such a light question. No, I think that's accurate. What's happening and what we're hoping with the JEDI proceeding is that we can leverage that forum for those types of discussions. You know, how can we do better on all fronts? I think other divisions, other staff, other commissioners can bring in any topics they want into this proceeding. So a few, you know, we had listed a few of the topics that we're considering, but I think a lot of that conversation will also happen in a different proceeding we have going on, which is the SB 100. How do we get to 100% clean energy future? And there are conversations happening there about those things. And that's a proceeding that's being led by our Vice Chair, Sivagunda. And he's really committed to making sure that we do things in an equitable way, that that we keep the grid affordable for folks. So I think he's a good leader to have on that forefront. Let me know if there's anything else specific that you want me to address with that question. It's a big topic.
Hopefully this answers the question. So the next question is, Ryan is asking, is there any intention to co-locate lithium processing for future use in batteries? If so, what steps are ensuring that any economic development benefits Imperial County?
That's great. So that's what we're trying to figure out through our Lithium Valley efforts. And so that's why we started the proceeding, so we can have those discussions about what's happening at the local level. What is that? The County of Imperial is developing a specific plan, an investment plan as well, related to Lithium Valley. So then how can the state come together to help support those efforts and go above and beyond? And we're hoping also to bring the federal representatives into the conversation so we can see how they can support us as well. But basically, there's been a few things happening. So I think everybody who in the state who's interested in Lithium Valley realizes that area has been adversely impacted in so many ways and has been left behind, has been ignored, and even harmed by prior policies or prior actions, etc. So we have a commitment in general to ensure that the local area benefits. So one of the ways that we as a state are trying to do that is creating a tax on the lithium development that happens there. So that tax is requiring a certain percentage for the developers to pay a certain percentage that will go towards the County of Imperial. I think that's 80% going to the County of Imperial. And then there's 30% of that 80% is going to go directly to communities that are affected by Lithium Valley. And then there's a 20% of the tax that is going to go towards salton sea restoration. So that's one example. And that actually was already implemented and to help ensure benefits are getting to this area. I am doing work with the governor's office. There's an advisor he has who's trying to attract philanthropic funding so that we can support the local government entities there as well, so that they are stable and can maximize whatever opportunities are coming at them, including all the grants related to lithium development or geothermal development or battery manufacturing and whatnot. So we're trying to get them some capacity building and technical assistance help through funding. And that's going to be focused on the cities themselves and the government in Imperial Valley. So the county, has that benefit of the tax. The cities, hopefully we can support them with this capacity building. And then hopefully through the proceeding, we learn what else can we do. And then battery manufacturing is going to be key for Lithium Valley Vision to actually be successful. So the lithium development is important. It's one of the key milestones, and we're trying to see, can the 3 lithium developers that are there extract sufficient lithium for mass scale production. If they can get to that point, then I think there'll be even more interest from manufacturers to come locate in that area, potentially to get the lithium that they need for the battery manufacturing. And then we're hoping, if we're seeing battery manufacturing there too, that we can also see electric vehicle manufacturing happen as well. But I think there's phases that's going to occur, and then there's also major milestones we have to hit before we can get there. So let me know if there's if you want me to delve into anything else, but that's how we're looking at it.
It seems we have addressed all the questions. And if we don't have any further questions or inquiries, we would like to stop. Yeah. So thank you so much, Commissioner Naomi, for your time, for sharing your experience. And I hope everybody, get to know what's going on at CEC through your policies and through your portfolio. So grateful, and we hope to see you soon again. And thank you so very much.
Absolutely. Before I drop, I am going to put in my contact information so that if anyone has follow-up questions, you can reach out to me. And then if I can't answer it directly, I can connect you with folks who can respond. So I'll put that in the chat right now. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity again. So glad that you all are focused on energy justice. It's important. And if you see any opportunities to help us do better on that front, please absolutely reach out to us, participate in our proceedings. You can comment in writing or in person, or even via Zoom when we have hybrid workshops. So very grateful.
Thank you so
Have a
much.
wonderful day.
Thank you so much.